Hi guys, welcome back to Just Talking, where I talk out and you sometimes listen. So today we're doing a full video going down all the scare mazes and attractions that have been announced for Journey to Hell Freak Nights 2021 at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And if you do enjoy this video or it just helped you out, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. So, for the pricing, the rules and the dates for the event for 2021, it will run on selected dates which can be found on the website from the 8th of October to the 31st. Of course, there will be two late night riding events going on in October which they have to work around, and they're on the 23rd and also on the 30th. You will have to be well enough to endure some loud noises, a lot of scares with people jumping out at you, on occasions touching you, though of course with COVID that'll be at a minimum. There will be a lot of flashing lights and also some intense rides, which I'll get into when I talk about some of the scare attractions that'll be on at 2021. So you must be over the age of 13 to attend the event in a ratio no more than 6 minors to 1 adult, and an adult is over 16. The prices do range from £32 to £38 depending on the date that you book and also the timing. So normally the highest prices later on in the day towards 9 o'clock when the last sort of screening and showing is of the event, and on the 31st of October, which is of course Halloween. So for the first scare maze that you're set to go through, according to the website, is the Hell Tunnels. And this is a returning attraction from 2019, which originally was inhabited by a sort of group that was a bit crazy and they wore masks made out of skin. But of course it seems like it's going to change up its storyline. And guests are escorted into the underground tunnels, which are situated below the park, and guests before the event in 2019 had never seen these underground tunnels, which were primarily used for transporting different food goods and different props from one area to another. And there is said to be a group of survivors that feed on fear and sadness. Whether this is based on the original group that was there in 2019, or it's survivors of the past event, we just do not know, or maybe survivors that just separated from the group and now their souls linger there. Of course, guests are warned to not get left behind, for they don't just feed on raw fear. So I'm assuming that the scare actors have actually been told to sort of pick on people who are slowing down and maybe too far ahead or too far behind, which I think is quite a nice idea. So then the people who are trying to stick close aren't scared as much, because they tend to be the people who are more afraid. So the people who want to be out there are more likely to get targeted, which I think is a pretty good idea. And I like the idea that it's survivors of something and that they feed on the fear of the guests, so the experience might be different depending on how afraid you are of the actors that are in the attraction. So hopefully they also will utilise the shadows in the tunnel a lot more, because as you can see here, there are a lot of shadows in the tunnel that they could definitely hide some people in, and if they are wearing black garments then they can definitely disguise them in them too, and maybe dim the lights a bit. So the next attraction you'll be escorted into is the Valley of Carnevil Freaks. So a ringmaster is looking for the bizarre and weird to enlist in his new carnival. Although the ringmaster has his ways of recruitment and an arsenal of evil entities and weird creatures waiting in the valley. Guests are warned not to go alone, as anyone can be enlisted, whether they like it or not. Of course, really, this is sort of a facade and front. Most of this is written by me. The actual script on the website is a lot shorter, but this is basically a more in-depth version of what the event will actually hold for you. Of course, you won't actually be taken away. There's no worry with things like that in case people are actually that skittish, in which I recommend that you maybe stay away from this event because it's meant to be more intense than last time, and some people did consider it to be quite scary on the low level sort of side of fear tolerance for the 2019 version. But of course, this is meant to be separate to the clown carnival that was there last time and isn't said to be in the Chinese puzzle maze. I'll get into which maze I think will be in there in a minute. But of course, this is going to have some sort of what would be considered freaks, but I'm not assuming that's what, the old time term would enlist with people who have weird deformities and things like that. Of course, it'll be sort of creatures that are demonic and things with horns and people with a million legs that look like spiders, and probably not that, but things like that, something extreme, like these creatures have come out from supposedly hell, and I'm assuming that's what it's going to be like in there, with a lot of performers kind of coming up to you, people who play around with weird creepy dolls and puppets. I'm assuming it's going to be a circus type of vibe with the ringleader sort of taunting you and escorting you around this maze. And I think that's a really nice idea. They do that a lot at Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Orlando, and I'm assuming this is actually going to be a really strong maze because it's always a very strong attraction when you do a circus vibe where there's all people wearing creepy outfits and with the faded circus stripes with the red and white. It always presents a really good costume design, a really great atmosphere for scenery, and I really do think it'll be very strong. So then next up is the Big Dark Abyss, my least favourite name for the scare attractions this year. Really, who thought of this name? I'm not a fan of it, but it says that guests will take an endless fall into the depths of terror, which I assume is a reference to Ice Blast. It doesn't specifically say you will have a ride on Ice Blast. The only hint they've ever given to a ride is through some of the titles, which I'll get into in a minute, and also Icon. But of course, it would be really nice to see Ice Blast be running for this event. I think that they could use it in the storyline in this way. So it could be a portal into the rest of the event where you are lowered into another layer of horror, like you descend further into the depths of hell which has been unleashed upon the park. I think that's a really great idea for them. And, possibly they could blindfold them. And of course there are physical requirements for this ride and they are available online if you need to check that out if you have any back issues. But of course you will need to check things out for the other rides such as Icon. Then next up there is Day of the Dead Ghost Train. I'm really excited that they're utilising more rides for this event, and I'll get into the one that I'm particularly excited about right at the very end of the Scare Mazes segment. So this is meant to be an event where you can celebrate life and celebrate the dead. So take a trip on the ghost train as familiar spectres come to life to haunt your round trip on the haunted trains. So I believe this attraction will be more of a festival vibe that descends into chaos and madness, but it's said not to affect the operation or appearance of the ride in daylight. Of course, they won't have any scare actors in the ghost train, which they're actually meant to do for this, so then families can still go to the park because they would of course have to issue a warning for people coming for things like Nick or Treat and the Vampire Beach event, which a lot of families do very much like to go to. But I really do hope this does have that festival event with the Day of the Dead, and I really do hope that kind of sort of experiment with the colours and the vibrancy of the Day of the Dead festival over in places like Mexico. And I do hope that it does get periodically darker as you go through, because towards the end of the ride you see more of the modern parts from some scenes from Trauma Towers towards the end. And I'd really like if they utilise that to their advantage with the slow descent into more scariness, so you kind of lulled into a false sense of security with things starting off normal and then descending into something that you don't really like going from a festival, a celebration with all these skeletons, to then going into a graveyard. I think that'd be really nice. So then the next two things I'm going to talk about is Scare Maze and Blind Faith. Yes, that's not a scare maze, it's Scare Maze. I assume this will take place in the Chinese puzzle maze in reference to Scare Maze, and the maze will have a lingering soul theme, and if it is in the maze, I think it is, they might add the lingering minds of the clowns and other creatures from the 2019 event where the clown maze was situated, and I really do hope they do something like that, even if it is just like a faint laugh of a clown, just to make people creeped out, like that kind of uneasy feeling where you think, oh, is there going to be a clown around the corner because I can hear it laughing. And I really would like if they had sort of whispers and people in the shadows, so it had that tension. The clown maze wasn't the best because it didn't use all the shadows and it didn't come off as tension, it just came off as a bit of laziness. But I assume that this time round it's going to be more of a purposeful tension where you can hear the voices and there's shadows everywhere, and then there's a scare when you least expect it. I really hope they use that to their advantage, that idea. And then guests will then ride what I believe to be Icon amongst a realm of speed, darkness and warriors. So I assume they'll be able to use the sort of Icon ninjas this time round, and I really do hope they do, because it could create really creepy design with some lifeless eyes in the ninja masks. Following the sort of idea with the Icon hero teddy that they have, they could maybe use some of the characters from that and the designs with the outfits, but then make them creepier. So a character that you already know turn into something that you don't. I think that's a really nice idea that they could do. obviously, A Realm of Speed is definitely icon. It's fast, and I hope they do also blindfold you again, because it does say darkness, and I'm really hoping that they blindfold you again, so then you get that thrill of being in the dark after Icon's been running for a while, and that'd be really great. So most likely the ride will all be done blindfolded, as I said, as it was in 2019, and I hope they do that most definitely. So then the final thing which I'm very excited about is the Legend of the Cursed River Caves. So I actually got a bit queasy when I found out about this because I kind of predicted this one, and I'm so excited they've actually done it. When I first went to the park and I found out some of the things about Journey to Hell Freak Nights 2021, I was really excited because the first thing that came into my mind was, oh my god, they could do something called River Caves After Dark, where they could follow a carnival theme where it's a sort of ringleader who basically curses this River Caves ride with some of the ghosts and spectres that you'd know from the rest of the park, and to have all the ice husks in the Blue Grotto, you'd have cavemen taking over the prehistoric section, all the mummies coming out from their tombs, and in Angkor Wat, the cursed souls that are left trapped in the sunken city. I thought that was a really great idea. And well, look where we are now, and I'm really excited about this. Of course, it does follow a different storyline, but it's still in the River Caves, and I am absolutely buzzing for this. I'm so excited. But once again, this ride will not be impacted by the event during the day, less for some minor interior changes. There might be maybe a few little paint changes, there might be some projections. What I thought they could do is, instead of changing what's inside or reconfiguring things, they could just have a different lighting selection where there'd be some like strobe lights at a time when a scare actor would come out, and you just hear dripping water and it all be dark with a few lights, and then things would come out of you from the depths. That was my idea, and maybe have some projections of things rather than actually making a change. And I'm sure that's actually what they're going to do, but that'd be really nice to see, maybe a few changes just so then the scare actors can be in there. And the storyline basically is that an evil sorceress has cursed the caves and made the world trapped within it alive, and watch out for the entities that have arisen from this curse. And of course, that's a really good storyline. It's very strong. I think that the sorceress could be maybe linked to Angkor Wat. It's a sort of primitive society, or maybe even the mysterious China section, because they have a history of suspicion with witchcraft and things like that. I think they could really explore the different history of things. And I think they have a really strong selection for scare actor characters in there. I would definitely like to see some ice husks in the Blue Grotto. I think that could be really great with them hiding behind the stalagmites and stalactites. I think that's a really great idea that they could do. And I'm really excited for this one. I think it's going to be really strong. I think it's going to be really spooky. But I really do hope that you're allowed to film on these, because last time you weren't allowed to film any part of the experience, and I really do hope that people, even if it's like press for a year after, I really do hope you get to see parts of this for people who can't attend, because that'll be a really great thing to see how they do it. And of course, if you're that scared, then it'd be nice to actually see what you were meant to be looking at. But for some of my opinions, just really quickly, I think this is a really strong event. I think that it's going to do very well. It's going to be very successful this year. It utilises all the rides I could ever have wanted it to, and a lot more as well. I think it's going to be really great. The scare actors are always on point. The actors at the Pleasure Beach are brilliant. They're so dedicated to the craft, and I think they deserve a lot more credit, even if the event doesn't hold up to your expectations. I would definitely say give credit to the actors, because they're very dedicated, and I've met some of them before and they're very nice, so don't worry, they're all really great people, and they wouldn't do anything to purposefully traumatise you for life. But yeah, I really do think this is going to be a very strong event, and let's move on to the outro. So yeah, that's really it for this video. Of course, if you did enjoy it, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'd love to see some of your opinions on the scare mazes in the comments. And yeah, this was Just Talking. Bye bye.